Why does it seem so complicated to hypnotize people conversationally and make them change from the inside through a simple conversation? In this video, we are going to see why so few people actually master real covert hypnosis and how you can simplify the whole thing for yourself to make anyone change their limitation from the inside at the exact moment you talk about their problem. So to give some context, the biggest changes in any kind of therapy session or coaching, mentorship or anything, the biggest changes usually happen in the places where people are not looking at. Specifically inside their mind. When they have been ruminating the same thing for years and years, usually they hope that the solution is going to come from more rumination, whereas the solution comes from some part of their mind they are not looking at. So we want to get them into some conversational trance so that they get access to that part of their mind without resisting anymore the type of change that can happen from the inside. And this is where, therefore, most people struggle and fail at this because they have a misunderstanding about what the actual trance state is and what it means to get inside or get into a trance. They think, usually, thanks to TV and social media, they believe that being hypnotized means losing your free will, being completely controlled by somebody else and becoming a puppet, not having any kind of willpower anymore. But nothing could be further from the truth. As Bandler said one time, the state I just described is only called death. It is not called hypnosis in any way. The only thing about the hypnotic state is that your critical factor is being put asleep. Not your entire willpower, just your critical factor, which means you judge less things before trying them or before acknowledging they might be true. For example, if I was to make some outrageous claim about aliens or some religious belief you have no faith in, then you might just ignore me, whatever. But if the same exact claim comes from your most trusted friend in life, the person who has always been there for you, the person who never lied to you, the person you have always trusted, then the exact same claim might be much less resisted by you, because it is someone you trust, and with someone you trust, then you don't have as much of a critical factor. You still have a tiny bit of it, but you have much less. That critical factor is being put asleep, and that is what we want to accomplish through a trance state and through a conversational trance, so that the person becomes open to change whatever it is you are talking about. And there is basically three different ways of doing this. First, you can elicit some process of that person or past memory when they were in that state. So for example, a trusted friend, that was one example like this. You can ask somebody, what is it like when you have a conversation with your best friend eventually, or if the person has done any sort of meditation or some self-hypnosis in the past, or the person believes in energies, Reiki, whatever, anything where their mind has been so fully absorbed they have lost track of time. Just by making them describe that experience and what it felt like at the moment it was happening will be enough many times to get them back in that state. Next, second option, if they don't have any such experience in their life, then you might simply describe yours. Why not? If you have been yourself into some self-hypnotic process, I could describe myself what it feels like when I get inside a trance. And by describing it, if I measure your nonverbal reactions, if you were here in front of me, I could notice at which moment, based on which word I said, you are starting to get your eyes slightly more defocused and your jaw more loosened up. There, I know the words I used at this moment had an effect on you, and I might double down on those so that you get in that state again, or like in the state I am describing. And if you don't have any such experience yourself either, then simply you might describe the experience of somebody else. So there is no limit to what you can accomplish with that method. And the third option would simply be to ask questions that basically appeal to mental processes they are not used to investigate. Basically, slide of mouth. Or if you have been watching what I have published the last few months, if you have followed my work on magical linguistics, it is all about this. All about asking the type of questions that people are not used to have an answer prepared for, so that it opens a spot in their mind they were not knowledgeable about, and that creates a trance. When you open a spot like this, if you just want a brief overview, you can, in my book, check at the end of every chapter. There are 10 language patterns. You can use them right away. It will give you all the examples for how to develop that art of asking people the kind of questions that make them dive into a trance. But to simplify all of this for you, I would say the simplest method, if we just summarize all of it, is to identify a moment of their life, the person you want to help changing. You identify with them a moment of their life where they have been able to change something big. Anything in their life that was stuck at some point, and they have found a solution somehow. They found a way to get out of this. And if they don't have any such example, then you ask them, have you witnessed somebody around you at some point who has accomplished something incredible, and that person has been able to change one thing they thought could never change in their life? Any example they have in the back memory about this. And you basically anchor it. You could anchor something by touching the person at the moment they describe this, but that is kind of the old NLP way of doing it. I like more the way of remembering the specific words, adjectives and nouns they used to describe how that experience worked. If you ask them what happened when you had the biggest change of your life, and he says, well, it just happened naturally, I don't know how to explain. And I don't need more. Happened naturally. Now we have an activation verb and we have its adverb, coming from the Milton model again. So, okay, happened naturally. That might be the auditory anchor of that person to get back into a state, or to access or think about a state in which they have much less limitation, because they are able to move on and change while in that state. Then I'm going to remember those words, what they said to describe that positive experience, theirs or somebody else's, and then I will ask them to elaborate on what is the desired change they want in their life. What is it you have had trouble to change lately, Robert, and that you would like to get into? You want to become more athletic, you want to lose weight, you want to make more money, you want to find the love of your dreams, whatever it is they describe as some goal they have right now. I will make them describe it, and I will reinforce all of their perception with the anchor they used, using the same exact terms. So you want to find the love of your life and you haven't found her yet or found him yet, then what would it be like if that could happen naturally, Robert? What would that look like? Because some things happened naturally in the past, and what would it look like if this one could happen naturally too? Again, happen naturally, the words they used. Replace that by anything else they used, they said, to describe an experience where they have been able to change something impossible. Then I'm going to reinforce that, and if they have any blockages, that is where the real hypnotic work happens, because then I'm going to touch their limitations. They say, well, it can't happen because blah blah blah. Okay, fine, and then let's forget about this for a second. Could you lead me back again into what it felt like when something worked beautifully? This, and when somebody else in your life has been able to change something big. Could you remember for a second, as I am speaking to you, what did it feel like when you noticed what they changed? And the more I get the person to experience again that big thing, the more easily they will get into the possibility that their big dream is actually achievable, and that they might need to let go of something else they hadn't thought about so that they can achieve their big goal. Again, the biggest changes happen from where they are not looking at. For that to become accessible in their memory and in their eyesight, I need to get them into some trance state where they resist much less the unseen, uncommon options that may help them the most. Once you fully apply this process, people change much faster than expected. They are not sure why they changed usually, but they just feel like they have more options in their life, which might not even be related with the specific things they talked about during the session. It happened to me quite a few times that I helped somebody change something about, I think it was, for example, one time her physical appearance, she didn't like it, and this one barely changed, but many other things in her life, specifically about toxic relationships, completely vanished. So quite often people will access the kind of change they are not used to, and they don't know where it comes from because they thought, no, I didn't, it's not the therapist, it's not Matteo, because I went to see him for something else. Yeah, but the kind of changes you experienced during the session are the things that activated those deeper changes you needed more. And people get more in touch with what they actually need once they get in that kind of trance state with me or with any competent hypnotist guiding their mind successfully. And if you want a complete methodology to develop that skill for yourself in the blink of an eye, or as fast as possible at least, some time ago I had created a method that summarized exactly how to set those anchors, those conversational anchors, how to trigger them and activate them and use them again later when the person resists, so that you can bypass any kind of resistance in their conversation, whatever they complain about. You can bypass that without arguing with them. It is like almost like an on-off switch button where you can lead them back into a state where they agree much more easily with the kind of positive changes you would like to suggest to them. And that method was called Ultimate Covert Hypnosis, because I think it is the ultimate thing to be able to use that stuff on the most resistant people ever, the most resistant clients ever. Those are the annoying ones, because when you encounter them and you have trouble making them change, then you may believe you're not competent enough, you're not qualified for the job. Whereas when you have this one magical tool to just erase their limitations in the blink of an eye, after they have been asking for it obviously, then you believe more in yourself and you notice you have more skills than you thought you had. So their conscious mind will be resisting much less anything you have to tell them about how faster they can change than they expected, and how faster you might change yourself than you expected, because it might happen for you too, just as you watch the whole method. It is down below if you want to check it out. In any case, thanks a lot for watching. Ask any question if you have some in the comment section, and I will see you soon in the next video. Thanks a lot. Goodbye.